It seems that many leaders of evil organizations like having at least one person that they trust who's willing to do whatever it is that is asked of them, no matter how gruesome that mission might be. Enjoys the fight, is a bit sadistic in nature, etc. And Salem's certainly no different, having two different people within her inner circle at different times who fit this description. Tyrian Callows currently, and Tock the Croc in the past, both very savage fighters and sadistic in nature and willing to do pretty much whatever is asked of them. So let's have these two characters fight each other 1v1 in the next exhibition match of the Phoenix Festival Tournament. Using Amity Coliseum as the stage, these two will be fighting to a full or a break. Not to the death, as much as both of them might enjoy that. And there'll be no possibilities for a ring out. These two are close combat fighters and enjoying the fight as much as they do. This would be a very interesting fight if it were ever to happen in the RWBY series, but unfortunately, with Tock's unfortunate end, that probably won't be happening. Now, before we get into this fight, let's go over the fight that took place last week, Fox Alistair versus Emerald Sustrai. In that match, I said that Emerald would come out the victor because her semblance of hallucinations not only affects sight, but also hearing. And because of that, it would be able to interfere with Fox's hearing and the assistant technology that he uses to get information on the battlefield, opponents, and opponents' weapons. Be able to overload his hearing, not necessarily mimic the voice of his technology, but overload his hearing to the point where he wouldn't be able to get accurate information about his surroundings and thus be at a disadvantage in battle. However, in the comments below that video, a lot of people disagreed. They thought that Fox Alistair would be the winner. He is stronger and his semblance still has the advantage over Emerald's, as his semblance of telepathy would be able to get into Emerald's head quicker than Emerald could start her hallucinations on Fox, because it does seem that Emerald needs a bit more focus to do so, to conjure the images or the sounds that she wants to project into a person's mind, where Fox just needs to project his own voice. So Fox would be able to distract Emerald, possibly prevent her from using her hallucinations, and would come out the winner. So, by majority vote, Fox Alistair wins over Emerald Sustrai. Now, getting into today's match between Tyrian and Tock. Let's start off with Tock, as we've already talked about Tyrian in a previous match between him and Adam Toros. Now, Tock is a character that we've only seen in a single episode of the RWBY series, but during that episode she displayed quite a high level of skill when it came to combat. Not only able to go toe-to-toe with Maria Calavera, the Grim Reaper, a legend among her generation, Tock was also able to blind her, a feat that can't be taken lightly. Now, there were 3 other people fighting alongside Tock against Maria, but they didn't really pose much of a threat to Maria. They were more just a distraction, so Tock can definitely hold her own in a battle. Now, she does have some drawbacks when it comes to her personality, as she really enjoys the fight and enjoys toying with her opponents, so much so that it leads to her disadvantage and also kind of led to her own demise in that situation. This is actually something that Salem has warned her about in the past, as we know from her character bio in Amity Arena. Tock was just released as a playable character there, and we found out a little bit more about her. For a fact that she was a member of Salem's inner circle when she went to attack Maria. So yeah. But when it comes to combat, Tock is a very savage fighter when it comes to her fighting style. She wields dual cutlasses and is very good at striking against her opponents in quick succession with them, barraging her opponents with strikes, giving them little time to respond, as Tock is a very fast fighter and can strike at them quite rapidly. That also paired with a bit of intimidation factor that comes with getting in close to her opponents and baring her metal fangs at her opponents really kind of throws them off, because Tock has augmented her teeth so they're metallic and sharp, able to bite through wood of an opponent's weapons, as it happened with Maria's life and death. Tock bit right through them, no hesitation, and was able to strike against Maria when she thought she was able to block her sword. So yeah, that's something that plays not only into intimidation, but also makes it so Tock packs quite a bit of a bite as well. And then we get to Tock's semblance, the most tricky thing about fighting against Tock, because her semblance is invulnerability. We don't have the exact name for it, but for 60 seconds, Tock just cannot be killed, cannot be touched or damaged in any way, it seems, because her aura becomes so strong that any strike against it is reflected backwards. When Maria struck at Tock with one of her scythes of life and death, the momentum of it was just rebounded backwards, and Maria was just disarmed at that moment, at least of one of her scythes. So Tock is a tricky opponent to come up against. You have to be able to survive for that 60 seconds, and if you can, then Tock's aura completely shatters and she's vulnerable, though she's still very capable of fighting with her dual cutlasses, etc. So Tock is a very strong opponent, though she has no ranged capabilities as far as we know. But she does have enough speed to launch herself forward to get in close combat against Maria, so I don't know, she might be fast enough to just not need ranged attacks. Now we get to Tock's opponent, Tyrian Callows, someone who's already been featured in a match against Adam Toros. And in that match, Tyrian did come out victorious, mostly due to his fighting style using all 5 of his limbs. His legs, his scorpion stinger, and his arms equipped with his weapons, the Queen's servants. And because of this, he's able to overwhelm opponents. He's able to fight multiple opponents and hold his own while fighting trained huntsmen and huntresses, as seen in Volume 7, though he does have a bit of insanity and overconfidence that does play into him taking a few risks in battle, but still, he is a very difficult opponent to come up against, especially 1v1. Now, Tyrian, wielding his Queen's servants, which are bladed weapons resembling his scorpion claws, they are good for close combat, slashing motions, but also have a ranged functionality. They have dual gun barrels under each one of them and can fire a barrage attack of rounds. Now, they aren't really packing much punching power, but are good at distracting an opponent, allowing him to get in close, etc. And then, of course, he has his scorpion stinger, his faunus trait that is full of venom that he can inject into his opponent if given the chance, and poison them, which could probably tackle many trained huntsmen in a matter of hours. Crow was able to survive for a day or more with this venom, but was not in a great shape. If it wasn't for his aura or other things that prevented the poison from traveling, it probably would have killed him a lot quicker. Tyrian, the most dangerous thing about him, other than, of course, his personality, is when it comes to his semblance. We don't have a name for his semblance, but I like to think of it as toxic aura, the ability to disrupt an opponent's aura. Most opponents would feel pretty safe having their aura cloak, knowing that they won't take physical damage from at least the first hit, even if they're jumped. But Tyrian can completely nullify that, or at least disrupt a person's aura in areas where his aura contacts their aura, and then can swipe with his other arm with the Queen's servants and deal physical damage to them. And because of that, any fight that Tyrian is in the Phoenix Festival tournament, we're probably going to have to factor in that Tyrian will deal some physical damage, but we're going to assume that he's not going to kill his opponent, because just the general rules that we're setting up here. But with that, Tyrian, when he activates his semblance, his eyes glow purple, his hands do as well, and he can swipe at a person's aura and then swipe again to deal damage. He needs those 2 hits. He cannot, as far as we can tell, just cloak his weapons in that and do the damage physically and disrupting aura at the same time. So that's going to be pretty difficult for him to do when his opponent, like Tock, can strike in quick succession. So, with these 2 opponents, one able to disrupt aura and the other to make her aura strong enough so that she is essentially invincible for 60 seconds long, this is going to be an interesting fight. Both are members of Salem's inner circle, though at different times they would not have any knowledge of each other's abilities. And because of this, at the start of a fight, Tock would probably activate her semblance immediately just to avoid any surprises. Now, I'm guessing, at least as far as I could tell, before Tock activates her semblance and strengthens her aura to that degree, she still has her aura active, just regularly like any other person would do. So even if Tyrian did start off a barrage before Tock was able to get her semblance up and get her invulnerability up, I think she would still be able to take a couple shots from Tyrian, and it wouldn't really affect her that much. Maybe reduce the amount of time that her semblance would stay active, but we just really don't know enough to say for sure. But Tock, once she got her invulnerability up, Tyrion's ranged attacks would not matter whatsoever. Any bullets would just be deflected off of them and not even faze Tock in the slightest. And Tock would be able to launch herself forward and get in really close to Tyrian. Probably quicker than what he would be expecting, as Tyrion's a quick fighter. I think Tock might actually be a little bit faster than him, at least when it comes to jumping forward, or at least launching herself forward. Not exactly sure. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are in the comments below, which one of these two fighters is quicker. But Tock would be able to get in close. Again, that's where Tyrion is comfortable. He's a close combat fighter too, and it would quickly come to a barrage. Tyrion would try to strike at Tock, not knowing what her semblance is, would think that, oh, there's plenty of openings, and try to strike with his queen's servants, only to find that however hard he struck, it would get reflected backwards, and thus give Tock a number of openings to strike against Tyrion. So she would be able to start chipping away at his aura. And Tyrion, knowing that, or realizing that, okay, I can't actually hurt her, would of course have to result to using his semblance, because for those 60 seconds there'd be no other way that Tyrion could deal any damage to her, and her savage barrage of attacks would continue relentlessly. Tyrion, I don't think, would necessarily be on the defensive, though there would be a couple times that he would be shocked in battle. As I mentioned, when he first was able to make contact with Tock's aura, and when Tock launched herself forwards to get close to Tyrion, but Tyrion would probably start taking some joy in this. I think both of them would realize very quickly that they are kindred spirits, both taking great joy in the fight and also having sadistic tendencies. Not to mention Tyrion's a bit masochistic as well, so honestly, these two, if they ever met, would probably be perfect for each other, but still, outside of that, I think Tock would be able to chip away at Tyrion's aura throughout this fight, and Tyrion would have to activate his semblance and wait for an opening to get in to actually disrupt Tock's aura, and it would probably be a bit more difficult for Tyrion to do so. One thing about Tyrion's semblance, when he activates his aura disruption and his arms glow purple, we don't know if the rest of his aura is actually deactivated. It would fit with his fable, the scorpion and the frog, where he kills the frog and thus makes himself vulnerable, so if by attacking an opponent or disrupting an opponent's aura he's also making himself vulnerable, would kind of fit with that, but we don't know for sure. Because if that was the way that it did go, Tock, it would not be a good choice for Tyrion to make in that case, because leaving himself vulnerable, trying to use one arm to grab at Tock's aura, would mean that Tock, with her barrage, would be able to attack Tyrion and deal some heavy damage to him, and if that's the case, Tock would win right then and there. Now, this situation wouldn't arise because we just don't know if Tyrion's semblance works that way, but what is certain is that Tock really wouldn't give Tyrion the chance to use his semblance anyways, because she would be relentlessly attacking him, and if he tried to reach out his arm, well, that wouldn't go well for him, and she would start landing hits on him. Now, both Tyrion and Tock are very aware of the battlefield. They're adept fighters and pick up on their opponents' intricacies in their fighting styles. Both would become aware of what each other's abilities are quite quickly, especially in Tyrion's case, realizing that, okay, I can't deal damage to her, her aura is highly strengthened at this point, but it's not going to be permanent. He would be able to realize that there's a time limit to it. He may not know what that time limit is. Maybe he'll be aware of the clock at Tock's waist and see it ticking down and realize what time limit it might be, that it is 60 seconds. But this is where the key factor comes into play. Their personalities, the way that they handle themselves in a fight, because both of them would be enjoying this fight to their fullest extent. This might be the funnest fight that either of them would have in their entire lives, let's be real here. And in Tock's case, she would just start attacking and being more relentless, but still keep a calm mind, I think, and Tyrion, on the other hand, would give in a bit more to his insanity and start taking a few more risks. Because if we look at the way that their battles have gone in the past, Tyrion ends up throwing himself into the battle to the point of self-detriment. Tock, in a similar fashion, but only once she thinks she has won. Look at her fight with Maria Calavera. She was relentlessly attacking her and only got cocky once Maria was disarmed, her aura was broken, and she was blinded. Then Tock got cocky. Whereas Tyrion starts laughing like a maniac against 3 opponents when his aura's already been damaged and he's at a severe disadvantage. So there's a bit of a difference in their personality, and because of that, I actually give the edge to Tock in this fight, that she has a better chance of winning over Tyrian than vice versa. Simply because Tyrian, even if he realized that Tock's invincibility wouldn't last forever, that it did have a time limit, and probably a pretty strict time limit at that, because this fight is only going to last 60 seconds. It's going to be a quick fight no matter what, but Tyrian would continue to throw himself headlong into the fight, giving Tock the opportunities to break Tyrion's aura before this 60 seconds was up. That's my thoughts, anyways, on this fight, but let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Who do you think would end up winning? Do you think that Tyrion would just be able to outlast Tock's invincibility? Because, frankly, once the 60 seconds was up and Tock's aura shattered, Tyrion would just win. Frankly, all Tyrion would have to do to win this fight is just run circles around Amity Coliseum and avoid Tock's attacks until her aura was used up. But that's not Tyrion's personality, so that's not the way it would go. And really, in this fight, biomes wouldn't play much of a factor because, as I've said multiple times already, these two like fighting and they're close combat fighters. They would just go straight in for the fight and enjoy the hell out of it. So let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments below. Who has the advantage, if their fighting styles play more of a factor, or if it's more of their semblances or personalities like I think it is. I'm interested to know what your thoughts are. Now, for the next exhibition match of the Phoenix Festival Tournament, this was a suggestion given to me last week on last week's fight between Emerald and Fox, and it's one that I didn't think of, and I am really excited about, so I want to put that up next, actually, but considering that we just went over Tock, I think it's pretty fitting that we go over Maria Calavera next week versus Pyrrha Nikos, both legendary huntsmen. Pyrrha didn't really have the opportunity to become legendary, but both the top of their class, both extremely skilled huntresses, and I'm interested to see how they will pair up against one another, because they both are so skilled, and I'm looking forward to this fight. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are in the comments below. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to subscribe, join the Guild of the Eternal Flame, tweet me at PhoenixKnight7, and now, if you feel so inclined, join our Discord server. Link in the description below. There's a Discord server so we can discuss all things RWBY, anime, gaming, etc. It'll be a good place to chat, and although I'm busy day to day throughout the week, etc., I'll try to get onto the Discord server once or twice a day, chat up some people, see how things are going, etc. So join if you feel like it. Be respectful of everyone else there. It's going to be a bit difficult to manage for both myself and the moderators if people are being belligerent and disrespectful of other people, and we won't hesitate to ban people if that is the case. So let's all share our love of this series, of the fandom, and, you know, enjoy each other's company. So hopefully you guys will enjoy that. I'm looking forward to it. So with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video.